And actually, the average human is outputting less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day, which is 86,400 seconds.
Are you really going to play all this? I mean, this is the worst podcast audio I've ever heard. You're losing tens of thousands of listeners. I mean, come on.
I will tell you that the people who follow Elon Musk, they are hanging on every one of his words.
I know they do, but like, I'm not feeling like I'm listening to America's storyteller here.
Hi, and welcome to GeekWire. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop.
And I'm GeekWire co-founder John Cook.
We are coming to you from Seattle, where we get to report each day on what's happening around us in business, technology, and innovation. What happens here matters everywhere, and every week on this show, we talk about some of the most interesting and important stories and trends in the news. Coming up later, John, we're going to tune in on Elon Musk's first earnings call for SpaceX.
From Mars.
Just about. He is just about there, as you will hear coming up later on. So stick around for that. It was such a fascinating experience listening to SpaceX's first earnings call as a public company. And I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you, including the local connection with Starlink and the satellites and what that means for Elon Musk's long-term ambitions. So stick around for that. Plus the return of the GeekWire Trivia Challenge.
Can't wait.
All right. First, last week, John, we talked about the Washington Tech Universe map, and I realized after we were done, we did not have the map in front of us. And so I brought into the studio this week actually two things. One of them is a surprise for you. The first thing is the actual Washington Tech Universe map created by the Washington Technology Industry Association. So let me give that to you here, John, and I thought this might be a good conversation piece. This is effectively mapping the galaxy of Seattle technology, and I'm recognizing now that you're going to need your readers.
Well, the glare is kind of bad here. You know, we've got all this sunshine we're dealing with. Let me pull it close. Okay. So I got my eyes on it.
So you've got that there. It has Microsoft, the University of Washington, Google, and others, Boeing included, where it shows how this ecosystem in Seattle has basically been spawned by itself, where one company begets another. And the point of this, as we discussed last week, is to show the interconnectedness and just how important it is to have these stars in the universe of Seattle tech, in any tech ecosystem, really.
Let me quiz you.
Yes, I knew you would immediately.
I really do need my readers here,
yes,
though. This is kind of hard. But the one thing, just because I can see this in the corner of the map, is Boeing.
Yes.
Boeing spawned a .com company. Now, you would not think that it spawned a 1990s era .com. It was a forerunner in many ways to Facebook because of how it connected people based on schools they went to.
You're kidding me.
Do you remember what company it was?
Classmates.com.
Yes.
No, Boeing?
Yes.
How is that the case?
Double check me here. Now, this is right off the top of my head. I think the founder's name was Randy Conrads, and I think he was a former Boeing employee.
And so that's shown on that map?
Yes. That's how deep this goes.
Wow.
Am I right?
In 1995, Mr. Conrads, Randall Conrads.
I got it. Oh my gosh. This is
left Boeing.
My brain is full of really random stuff.
Left Boeing to found Classmates Online Inc. and ultimately went on to single-handedly prop up Facebook in the early days through all of the random yearbook ads that they would place. You're immersed in the thing. You didn't even hear my joke.
Okay. Yes. No, I got it. All right.
Okay.
So where do you want to go with this, Tom?
Okay. So after we talked about this last week on the show and featured the story on GeekWire of this new Washington Tech Universe map, we received an email from our friend Ken Meyer, who was the Washington Technology Industry Association CEO at the time of the original Tech Universe map. And John, Ken sent an email with a PDF attached of the original map. So do you know what I did today?
You found it. You went into the GeekWire archive.
I did not.
You printed this off?
I sent it to Kinko's. and I paid $30.
Oh, that's why you ran up to Kinko's. Okay. It's a pretty nice, I mean, hats off to Kinko's. That's a pretty nice reproduction.
You would not know that it was not the original. In fact,
well, this one's much easier to read.
Because there's a little less on it.
Yes.
But first off, hats off to the PDF format here. I mean, my goodness, this is really a faithful reproduction from a pretty small file that Ken sent us.
Let's see if it also has the Boeing to classmates connection, because there is a Boeing major star listed. Now, this was when exactly?
2009.
Okay.
In fact, John, you'll notice the common
Classmates
thread.
Online is listed there, which creates its own little mini solar system of companies like Redweek.com, Escapia, AdReady, Ripple. Those are companies with entrepreneurs I all know. Yeah.
So
fascinating.
And for folks who can't see this, obviously on the podcast, I will link to the PDF from the show notes and from the related post on GeekWire.com for this particular episode. But the interesting thing about this one is that it was organized by era, as you'll note. So Boeing, Microsoft in the 70s, University of Washington, of course, in the 1800s. And then Aldous. Look, John, there's Aldous, 1984.
Right.
And then,
Lacoste Cellular is a major,
yes.
What do you call them, solar system or a major star?
So I really like this one.
And what's interesting is, Amazon at this point has not spawned that much.
What do you think of the Amazon ones that they're showing? Can you read those?
Gosh, yeah, this is really testing my eyesight. They're kind of like in
Not
the where
much.
are they now file. I don't recognize many of these companies at all.
Name some of them.
Clay Valet, Deluxe, Global Scholar, Morse Best Innovation. I kind of remember them, which led to Mercent. Yeah. Blue Gecko. Yeah, these aren't, and they're only, about a dozen.
Now
companies.
compare that to the Amazon on this chart, the new one.
Yeah, the new chart is.
Did Amazon do better over the ensuing 16, 17 years?
Yes.
Like what other companies are you seeing there?
I
now?
can't see that.
Okay, here.
I'm sorry. You really should have told me to bring my glasses in for this.
Sorry. It's good audio of crinkling posters here. Common Room, FreightMate, Stackline, Skilljar, ColoineSeattle.com. They got some deep cuts in here. I've never even heard of that company. Yeah. So
well, it's fascinating.
Blue Origin, of course.
Yeah, it's fascinating just in the, what has it been since this was released? You said 2009?
So 17 years.
17 years, just how much the Amazon ecosystem has grown as a result of companies spinning off of Amazon versus what it was like in 2009.
Right.
Now you got to remember in 2001, 2002, remember Amazon was almost left for dead.
Right.
Amazon was so 7 years later, I guess you could make the argument that maybe there would have been more entrepreneurial activity because a lot of people left Amazon to start companies, but it's just interesting that it wasn't that big of a company in 2009, both coming out of the dot-com collapse and just based on the entrepreneurial activity out of that 7 years after the dot-com bust. But you look at it 17 years from the 2009 timeframe, and wow, there's been certainly a lot of activity out of Amazon. Not as much as I think a lot of people in the venture capital and startup ecosystem would hope, but still a much bigger component of the Seattle technology ecosystem.
Anything else stand out for you on that 2009 version of the map?
Well, Microsoft, of course, is huge, and as you would expect.
I was struck by, in part it's because I've been focusing on this company a little bit lately, but Aldous is on there.
One thing is here, Todd, I know you love the Aldous story, but like looking at some of the companies spawned out of there aren't many important names, that have lived on to this day, I gotta say. It's a little weak. I'm looking across the Microsoft ecosystem, and you see companies like Valve Software.
Yeah.
A pretty powerful company, so that's interesting.
Well, another thing, too, is we've always talked about how Real Networks in and of itself is a company that has spawned a bunch of others. And Real Networks itself was the result of Microsoft.
Right. And so you see Real Networks leading to companies like Shelfari, Gamehouse, Big Fish Games, Isilon, which was a big company, obviously, that sold to EMC, Linden Labs, which was a extremely well-known
Second Life?
Second Life, yeah. How would you describe what Second Life?
Virtual World.
Virtual World, yeah. So there are probably 3 times as many Microsoft companies on the 2000 map than there are any of the other
John,
ecosystems.
Now go to grid square L5 on that map.
I love how you can do that too.
Yeah,
L5. It was well designed.
This was well designed.
Yeah,
I will say
L5.
that the new one is more striking in terms of its complexity, but it's
you
a lot.
really need your readers for that one.
Yeah.
L5. I see Teledesic.
Teledesic. What did Teledesic do?
Well, they were the internet in the sky. And so this ties into probably our conversation that we're going to be having later today, talking about things like Starlink.
Exactly.
And Project Leo.
In many ways.
Although it's not called Project Leo anymore.
Amazon Leo, formerly
Leo.
Project Kuiper. But before we get to that, I mean, Teledesic in and of itself was quite a story back in the day. This was something that you covered pretty thoroughly. Were there connections here to Macaw, or was that totally separate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were absolute connections to Macaw and to Microsoft. I think through an investment by Bill Gates in Teledesic. It was a very well-funded venture to do essentially what Starlink is doing, which is launching satellites that would provide internet connectivity and cell phone service to us residents here on Earth.
It was in many ways an idea ahead of its time, and it's fascinating to see just how often this happens. Companies will come out with concepts and approaches that don't end up working for them, but ultimately end up working for others. And there you have Starlink, which is really making its mark.
Well, classmates.com, to our earlier point, essentially that was as I said, a forerunner to Facebook, which became Meta.
Yeah. So we could spend hours going through this. I don't know if anything else pops out as you're shining
it's
your
really
light
cool
on
to
there.
see. I remember covering this back in the day and it being a really big deal.
Yes.
It was really fun to participate in both of these maps. We should say, some of the data sources for both maps came from some of our original reporting back in the day.
Yep. So
to this day.
We were running a site at the time called Tech Flash, which was associated with the Puget Sound Business Journal. And so there is the good old-fashioned Tech Flash logo there on the 2009 thing. Try not to get any PTSD. And on this one, GeekWire was one of the partners, so it's kind of fun to see our logo on the new Washington Tech Universe map.
Very cool. I'm glad you brought these. I'm glad it was show and tell podcast today.
Nice.
This is fun, Todd.
And again, for all of you out there, I will link to these from the show notes.
And we should say thanks to Ken Meyer again for bringing up the old version of the map, because it's really fun to see that again and compare it to where we're at today.
And very cool that the Washington Technology Industry Association, WTIA, did this again with its partners, including Mitsubishi, Greater Seattle Partners, CBRE, the Tech Alliance, CoMotion Labs. This was really, in many ways, a collaboration across the industry, and we were honored to take part. All right, coming up next, all the crazy stuff Elon Musk said on this week's SpaceX earnings call. All right, welcome back. It's Todd Bishop with John Cook. John, it was a relatively quiet week. Last week we had Microsoft and Amazon earnings and Seattle Tech Week, and you could really tell that the summer swoon hit this week. So when I saw that SpaceX earnings were on the calendar, I decided I was going to cover it. And this was a milestone earnings release. This was the first quarter that SpaceX has reported since its IPO. And of course, I like to claim this as a local company in some ways, even though it's not based here. This is a company that has the heart of its business in a lot of ways, the Starlink satellite factory right here in the Seattle area in Redmond, Washington. And for that reason, I decided I'm going to cover this week. And the earnings were interesting, lots of good numbers. They reported $7.8 billion in revenue, up 92% from a year ago. And in fact, Starlink did very well. It brought in $4.3 billion, the connectivity business as they call it, And of course, just to close this loop, this is their internet satellite business that launched a number of years ago, 4.3 billion in revenue and 2.6 billion in profit. So this company's doing fairly well when it comes to satellite internet. But for me, apart from the numbers, the real novelty in this earnings report was getting to listen to Elon Musk on the earnings call. And so for that reason, I had to play some clips for you. Have you heard Elon Musk before on the Tesla calls, for example?
No.
What do you think he's like? Do you think he's like reading from a script? Do you think he's shooting from the hip?
I don't know. Just hit me with the clip, Todd.
It's getting too hot in here.
Just hit me with the clip. I don't know.
All right, let's listen. I've got a few. So here he is talking about the Starlink business.
Regarding Starlink, it's also worth just noting that the Starlink V3 satellite is about an order of magnitude more capable than the Starlink V2 satellite, which was already a very capable satellite. And we expect to launch about an order of magnitude more Starlink V3 satellites. So that would mean a roughly 2 order of magnitude increase in the delivered bandwidth. Even if our monetization per bit dropped by a factor of 10, that would still mean a 10x increase in the revenue of Starlink. So I think people are really underestimating Starlink here. So this is a big deal. It's kind of hard for people to wrap their minds around this, but it's not out of the question that at some point Starlink will deliver a majority of the world's internet, at least in countries where we're allowed to operate, which is the vast majority of countries. So this is important to bear in mind, and it's not in like the infinity future. It's
Okay, Todd. I think I've heard
less than
enough.
10 years.
You haven't even heard the best part yet.
So, with the advent of AI and humanoid robotics and vehicle robotics and just a massive number of robots, the appetite for bandwidth will be much greater than it has been in the past. If you think of a human consuming perhaps or producing perhaps about a few hundred bits per second of output, and actually the average human is outputting less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day, which is 86,400 seconds. Now, computers, could easily do billions of bits per second continuously over a.
Are you really going to play all this? I mean, this is the worst podcast audio I've ever heard. Are you just waiting for my response on this? Please don't play this on our podcast. You're losing tens of thousands of listeners. I mean, come on. Were you just waiting for
What's
me?
your problem? I've got 3 more clips.
No.
So this is why I would expect the appetite for bandwidth to grow dramatically with the growth of AI and robotics. And really, I think Starlink is the only thing that can actually service that bandwidth.
Okay.
No,
I think
don't
you're
do
just
more
overwhelmed by the
clips.
heat in this room.
No, it's not intelligible.
It's you. Okay, so this is actually somewhat fascinating. You didn't find it fascinating?
No, I felt part of being I think, CEO is being able to deliver your story and deliver your message in clear tones. That is not a clear tone.
I will tell you that the people who follow Elon Musk, they are hanging on every one of his words.
I know they do, but I'm not feeling like I'm listening to America's storyteller here.
To me, the fascinating part of what he actually said is that our appetite as humans for bandwidth is a small fraction of what's to come when AI and robots start doing things autonomously and become really the big consumers of internet. And a big point that he's making is, if you can make it through his delivery approach, that Starlink is positioned basically to have exponential growth. It's kind of like the Microsoft story all over again.
Had he just said that in clear and plain terms, that would be fantastic. And I get that, and I don't disagree.
To me, it is kind of a Microsoft story in that you're at the beginning of this potential exponential curve with the need for bandwidth in much the same way that the early PC was just taking off in the early 90s, for example, and Microsoft was right there providing the key infrastructure. I realize the parallel doesn't quite hold precisely, but it's pretty fascinating to think about where SpaceX is today. All right, let's play one more clip.
Okay, one more.
Because there was an interesting comment about data centers and SpaceX getting into data centers where they start to compete with Microsoft and Amazon. And so to me, the fascinating part about all this is not just Starlink, it's not just Grok and X, it's not just the space flight that they do and the rocket launches that they do. It's how Elon Musk is, in everything he's doing, trying to be the everything entrepreneur, the everything company. And I think you're starting to see that, especially in his expansion into online infrastructure and data centers. And you're seeing them start to provide computing, cloud computing to other companies. And so SpaceX to me is just kind of this weird unicorn that's fascinating to watch, in part because he's so eccentric, but also because that eccentricity starts to translate into this kind of monster of a company. And I think you see that in the data centers. And so here he is answering an analyst question on that topic.
Elon, can you elaborate on the key unlocks from leveraging your rockets and satellite expertise just in accelerating the pace of compute build out? And then totally appreciate the $6.7 billion in incremental compute deals. Can you talk more about just how you expect the supply-demand environment to persist going forward and whether you'll be able to keep this kind of premium pricing for these deals and sustainability? Thanks.
Sure. Well, as the saying goes, normally they would say this ain't rocket science. Well, actually, rocket science is literally our daily business. And rocket science is a idiomatic expression for extreme technological difficulty, and there's a reason for it. Because the thing, let me tell you what rockets desperately want to do every flight. They desperately want to blow themselves into tiny pieces. But then the engineering struggle is to convince the rocket not to blow itself into tiny pieces and actually deliver payload to orbit. But you'll note that some of our competitors do in fact blow their rockets up. This is not a reflection on their. This does not mean they're incapable. In fact, I think our competitors are very smart people. But despite being very smart, the rockets still blow up.
Little dig there at Blue Origin,
Yes.
which had a mishap on the Florida launch pad with one of their flagship rockets.
So now, if you apply a small amount of the engineering skill that goes into making gigantic rockets reach orbit on a regular basis reliably to terrestrial data centers, this is like, frankly, the New York Yankees going in and playing a little league team, and it's kind of ridiculous, frankly. This is like the terrestrial data centers are a trivial problem compared to making gigantic reusable rockets, and which are launched frequently. And the Starlink satellites also are like alien level technology. There's still nothing that compares to our Starlink V2 satellites, and our V3 satellites are really more than an order of magnitude better than our V2 satellites. So you take a small percentage of that engineering, apply it to terrestrial data centers, and you get an amazing outcome.
What struck me there was the hubris, the notion that, hey, this stuff is easy. What the stuff that Microsoft and Amazon and Google are doing to build out these data centers, spending hundreds of billions of dollars collectively, like child's play. It's as if it's little league compared to us playing Major League Baseball up in orbit. And I mean, so be it. It's just fascinating to me to see this personality and how it's manifesting itself. He's the world's richest person, and he's got these outsized ambitions. He wants to get to Mars. He wants to establish a giant colony of humanity on Mars. We had an interesting story on that just recently by a contributing writer named Dominic Gates, who wrote for us. And it's just, to me, one of the most interesting stories in corporate America, in the world, when it comes to technology and business. Your point is Elon will never have his own podcast.
Tough to get through that call. I'm surprised you listened to it as long as you did.
Well, actually, I listened to it initially live, and then I actually listened to it while I was going to sleep last night. And I
That
woke
would
up.
work.
I woke up 15 minutes later and realized it was over. And it did put me to sleep.
I would think so.
All right, hey. Enough of that. I'll link to all of our coverage. We'll pull the plug on that for now, John. And coming up next, stick around, GeekWire Trivia Challenge.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
This is GeekWire's Trivia Challenge.
Wouldn't you prefer a good game of chess?
Yes, that's right. It is time for the GeekWire Trivia Challenge. John, you saw the news this week. Jeff Dean, who is one of the University of Washington's legendary computer scientists, is leaving Google after 27 years. He graduated from the University of Washington, of course, many years ago. Got his computer science PhD there. He's been Google's chief scientist for many years, and he's leaving. He's taking 3 of the company's top AI researchers with him to start a company called Discovery Loop, which is aiming to automate scientific research. Google's a founding investor, so he's not going far, and it seems like this company has the blessings of Sundar Pichai and others from Google. But here, John, is the GeekWire trivia question related to this. Jeff Dean's last startup was, in fact, Google. He joined in 1999, back when Google had 20 employees, and worked out of an office above a storefront in Palo Alto.
Maybe this time he can actually do something with his life.
So here is the question. What is in that storefront today? Is it A, a T-Mobile store, B, a 7-Eleven, C, a Verizon store, D, a Pete's Coffee, or E, in a true homage to what the tech industry has become, an unemployment office?
Oh, jeez. Remind me again on the city and location.
Palo Alto, it's a storefront. It's an office that was above a storefront, and this storefront today is either A, a T-Mobile, B, a 7-Eleven, C, a Verizon, or D, a Pete's Coffee.
Well, I'm going to go with T-Mobile because it was in your lead of your story.
You did read. You did read. Oh my gosh, that's great. It was, in fact, a T-Mobile store. So back when Jeff Dean was actually in that building, the ground floor was a used bookstore, books and music store, which closed in 2000. By the way, the same office was home to PayPal and Logitech. So people in Silicon Valley call it the lucky office, apparently. So there you have it.
Very cool.
Would there be a comparable place in Seattle?
I was just thinking about that. There was discussion around that at one point. I think there was something around the University of Washington, and we'll have to ask Ed Lazowska and our contributing columnist Oren Etzioni about this, because I think there was something with Faircast and where it was located in a former bank over by University Village, the shopping mall, where it was located, and I think several other companies. There's something that's striking me about the University of Washington having a building that started to get reused by startups over and over again. And I'm sure we'll hear from anyone out there in the University of Washington ecosystem that might be able to point us to what that was.
All right.
But nothing on the scale of Google that I can say.
On this hot, stuffy August afternoon, I think that's enough for this show. Thank you, everybody, for listening out there. Curt Milton edited this episode. I'm Todd Bishop.
And I'm John Cook.
We'll be back next week with a new episode of the GeekWire podcast.